And you'll be surprised, you know, in the Quran, there's actually Surah Al-Hadid, how basically it's called the iron, how iron basically came from the skies. There's actually an ayah in the Quran which tells you that it came from the skies before the scientists figured this out. These elements, some of the elements on this planet, they came from the heavens. We don't know exactly where. Might be meteorites, might be basically some other supernovas giving rise to all this. We don't know exactly, but Allah says in the Quran that this is how it came, and we believe so, not because science told us, but because God is able to know how He created things, and He's able to tell us how they came into existence.
فتعالى الله الملك الحق ولا تعجل بالقرآن من قبل أن يقضى إليك وحيه وقل رب زدني علما.
Most people will come to an understanding that we or anything cannot just come. Because let's define what nothing is first. What do you think nothing is?
Nothing is...
It's all got too deep
naught,
for me.
Zero.
Well, zero is something actually.
Zero, okay. Really?
It's an abstract form, is a number, but zero is something. I wouldn't say zero is nothing.
Okay, fine. It's
Nothing absence.
an absence of anything.
That's very good actually.
Exactly.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Or shall we say absence of everything?
Absence of everything.
So absence of everything is nothing.
Wait. SubhanAllah, وتعطش العربية ولا كيف؟
Yeah. So what we are saying is, if something is nothing, and it's basically beyond anything that you can imagine or anything you can think of, and the absence of everything basically, everything that you know of, everything you can imagine, everything you can see, you can feel, touch, measure, everything. It's none of that. That is nothing. So how can this nothing give or basically give rise to anything at all, even an atom?
Well, again...
Because you see, the atom is not really very simple either. It is, if you look at it with an electron microscope, yes,
Yeah.
or whatever you can actually make out of it, it's still complex, you know. You'll see similarities between the solar system and the atom.
Yes.
Yeah, it's got like we have the sun and we got the
electrons.
yes, exactly. So we got the sun and the planets orbiting around the sun,
true.
and we got the nucleus, and we got the electrons and the protons circling around the atom. Do you see similarity between a macroscopic element and a macroscopic element like the universe? Sorry, like the solar system, for example. So we see some sort of symmetry here, don't we?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Now we cannot imagine even this simplest form of matter, the atom itself, can originate by itself. So the question arises, where does it come from?
Can I ask you, are you saying that the concept of nothing doesn't exist? Or?
Let's define nothing. What's nothing to you?
I'm just asking you.
No, I didn't say concept of nothing doesn't exist. I know and understand what nothing is. But what I'm trying to...
Is there such a thing as nothing?
Nothing is absence of everything. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if there's such a thing as nothing...
But do you think there is or there isn't?
No, you tell me what it is.
No, I'm asking you. Do you think...
I think nothing is not something that is tangible, if that's what you're asking. So
you
when you
don't-
say
don't
nothing...
you don't believe in the concept of nothing?
No, there is a concept of nothing. So for example, if you take infinity, which is basically, it could be a lot, yes, innumerable, yes, then nothing would probably be the opposite of that. Yes, because this is infinite. It can be infinite. It can be. It can be.
That doesn't follow.
Okay, what is nothing?
Non sequitur.
I'll tell you what. You define nothing to me.
No, I can't.
Why not? Would you agree the definition I gave you? The absence of everything?
No.
Okay, why not?
Well, the absence of everything, it's a definition. But that's not the question I was asking.
So what is the question asking?
Well, the question I'm asking is whether you sort of like you accept the idea that nothing is something that could be possible. Or?
Nothing is a concept, like I told you. Just like the infinity is a concept, nothing is a concept. These are abstract terms. Yeah, it's an abstract term.
That's all it is.
That's why I said it's not something tangible. You can touch nothing.
Okay.
Then you're touching either something.
So
you know what I
really
mean?
we're talking about something that isn't something that can be
Yeah,
understood.
because you came in the middle of the discussion. Let me just.
All right, sorry, I beg your pardon.
No, I'll fill you in as to what we are discussing about.
Yeah,
basically, the question I was asking is.
I'm just curious to know.
Yeah, the question I was asking is, do we believe that the origin of the universe is something that we know of or we don't know? And if we know of, what is it? And if we don't know, then that doesn't really answer the question about the origin of the universe. So, with regards to the origin of the universe, what do you understand? Where did it come from?
Well, my view on that, my personal view on that is we may know, and that's the key point.
Which is?
We may know some bits about it.
Which is what?
I don't know. I'm not au fait with it. But
Okay, let me
finish the thought.
Yeah, sure.
We may. When I say we, I'm talking about those that are far more informed than me. May know, the scientists and whatever. They may know some bits about the start of the universe, but they don't know all of it. They know some bits, and from that they extrapolate and make assumptions.
Could they be speculating?
I mean, what I'm trying to say is that nobody is claiming that they know all about it.
No, I'm not saying to know all about it. All I'm saying is that, okay, we narrowed it down to the simplest understanding. Either the universe came from something or nothing, and that's where the nothing
But
came in.
We don't know what nothing is. Though.
No, we know.
So
we do know what nothing is.
No, we don't.
Yes, I just told you.
You said you don't.
No, I said the definition. I said it's not something that's tangible. It's a concept. I told you. So nothing. It either came from nothing.
No, but when you say it came from.
Yes.
But the thing you're saying it came from, you're saying you can't define.
I did define it already for you.
You didn't.
I said it's the absence of everything. You forgot already.
No, I didn't forget. That's not.
You said maybe that is a definition. You even said maybe.
Maybe it's a. But
Look, I think I would rather live with maybe than I don't know.
What's your definition?
You said you don't know. I said maybe. Here is a possibility.
I'll
I'll tell you what. You falsified that definition.
No. Well, okay. So just to be clear, you're saying definitively nothing is the absence of everything. Everything.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Can you disprove that?
No. But I agree with you.
Oh, you agree with me?
I do.
Why are we arguing about something we agree upon then?
But then.
Let's go back to the question I asked. Do you believe that the universe was originated from something or nothing? Is it logically conceivable for anyone to imagine it came from nothing?
Sorry, ask that.
Okay. Is it logically conceivable for anyone to imagine that the universe originated from nothing?
No, it can't have come from.
Okay, so we can rule that out? Can we rule that out?
However, so the alternative being that it came from something.
No, yeah, exactly. That's the other alternative.
So the alternative. So then where did that something come from? Did that something...
We're coming to that. One step at a time, my friend.
Okay.
I really feel your passion. Okay. What I'm saying is that, look, we can easily rule out, because it's not scientific, it's not logical, it is not something a human being, yes, in the right mind can say that, yes, this phone that you have, or this speaker, this microphones here, they just pop out of nothing, yes, out of thin air. Even something as simple as the microphones and the phones, compared to the universe, they have a maker, yes. So why would not one of the most complex things out there, the universe itself?
No, 1 second now. You're backtracking on what you were saying.
On what?
You said the absence of everything. Now you're talking about a creator.
I haven't actually reached the creator yet.
You just mentioned.
I mentioned about the worldly things. Do you disagree with that?
No, wait a minute now.
The glasses that you have around your neck there, do you think it just fell from the sky?
No, that's a different issue.
So why is it a different issue?
No, I'll tell you why. It's a different
Same
issue.
concept.
No, I'll tell you why. Because
If that can have a maker, why not the universe?
I'll tell you why. Because,
Why? Go on.
Because you're mentioning nothing. You said something.
No, we ruled out that. Nothing, we have already ruled it out. So what is the other alternative? Something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So do you agree there is something which gave rise to the universe?
Well, it didn't come from so the concept of nothing can't exist then.
My friend, we have already passed that.
No, but once you say something always existed, right? Then that nullifies the concept of nothing.
Well, we haven't actually discussed that. So let's discuss that,
okay.
shall we?
All right. Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm saying is that because we have ruled out the nothing, now we focus on the something.
Right.
So what is this something that could have created this vast universe, which includes us, which includes everything in it, for I don't know how many millennia?
Wait a second. I don't think we quite ruled out nothing. I think
We haven't?
I think we've said
Okay.
that it's illogical. I think we've said it's
Okay,
illogical.
tell me why would you not rule it out?
Because we don't know for sure.
Why would you not know for sure?
The same way we don't know that something created the universe.
No. If you have defined nothing as the absence of everything,
Okay.
yes, can such a concept ever give rise to something? Absence of everything that you know of. everything that you will know in the future, everything you know in the past. Absence of all that. So we can, I think, quite easily rule it out.
But sorry.
Logically, it's inconceivable.
I've got to interject here.
Yeah, go on.
You've just proven that nothing cannot exist.
But I just told you, nothing is a concept, my friend.
Well, no, even the concept can't exist.
Why not?
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you what. You bear with me. I'll explain why.
Yeah, go on.
Because once you introduce something like a creator, right? Like, because if you have nothing.
But that's
right?
not nothing.
Wait a minute. If you have the concept of nothing, right? As a realistic concept, something we can all buy into, right? If you have that, then you will always have nothing. You can never.
I didn't even understand that.
Well, I'll explain.
Can you repeat that, please?
I
Yeah.
will explain.
Go on.
If you have a concept such as nothing,
Yes.
right? You know, the concept as most of us here would understand nothing, right? And you yourself have said that nothing can come from nothing, right?
No, I didn't say that. Nothing can come from nothing? When did I say that?
You said it earlier on.
No, please don't put words in my mouth.
Okay. Well, so something can come from nothing.
No, I didn't say that either.
Well, which is it?
Actually, I said something cannot come from nothing. Are you with me? Something cannot come from nothing.
Something
Do you agree
cannot-
with that? I think you did agree earlier.
Absolutely.
Are you backtracking on
No, I'm
that?
not.
Good.
But you seem to be saying one thing and then you change it.
No, I did not change anything.
Well,
No,
let me try
honestly,
now.
I did not.
So you're saying that something cannot come from nothing.
Yes.
All right.
Finally.
So, right now let's keep that thought. So
Good.
something
Yes.
cannot come from nothing.
Yes.
Right. Therefore, the concept of nothing, as we all understand it here, if you have nothing, then you will always have nothing.
That bit I didn't understand. Did anybody else understand
because
that?
You said something.
If you don't have nothing, then you don't have nothing.
But listen to me. You said that something cannot come from this nothing.
Do you not agree with that?
I do agree with it.
So why are we arguing about something we agree upon?
Because when I say that if you have nothing,
Are you just arguing for the sake of argument?
you're not listening.
Look,
are you?
we already
You're not
agreed.
listening
No,
to
I
what
am.
I'm saying. No, you're not.
Because what you're
No,
doing.
you're not
No,
listening.
you're not making sense
I
here.
made
When you
perfect
said
sense.
nothing comes from nothing. We know nothing is a concept.
Yeah.
Yes. This nothing cannot
I don't
give
think-
rise to
I don't
something.
think you're listening to what I'm saying.
I think I have.
But,
Bro, he's actually agreeing with you.
but,
He's
but
actually-
I was agreeing with you, but you're not listening.
No, he's actually agreeing with you.
But remember what I told you earlier.
you're not listening.
If we agree on something, why do we argue upon that? Why are we arguing on something we agree upon?
Because once you set that as a concept, then you can extrapolate from it.
But that's what I was
But when
going.
tried
I was going to
extract-
explain
when I
that. I was going to explain the something.
You weren't listening to what
Okay,
I
that's
was
fine.
saying.
That's fine. Peace be with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, because you said you said, he said nothing cannot come from nothing. If he's agreeing, I told him already earlier. If you agree with me,
No, he was actually backing you up.
Is he?
But the way he was saying, you didn't understand.
okay. So you said we cannot rule out the nothing.
I'm saying
Do you have a reason for that?
yes,
Which is
because we don't know in entirety. I think
we don't know in entirety what.
entirety. Like until you know everything, you can't. Well, I had a good way of saying this. Like, the other
Are
day.
you saying that until we know everything, we want to know nothing?
No, I don't think.
Okay. Do we know what nothing is so far?
Okay.
Based on our discussion so far,
So
do we know what nothing is?
You gave a definition that nothing. Is,
Actually, you did. Remember?
Oh.
I asked you,
Okay, I think
and
we
then I agreed
combined-
with you.
We kind of combined.
Yes.
Made
You said nothing is
Nothing
absence of anything, and I said let's say it's the absence of everything.
everything.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So that was our definition.
Shall we? Do we agree on that definition?
I think we do. I think we do.
Okay. So now, based on this definition itself, why would you say you would not rule out this? That something cannot originate from nothing.
Why can something not originate from nothing?
No. Why do we not? Why do we have to actually? Sorry. Why do we not rule out the concept of something originating from nothing, if nothing is basically absence of everything?
Okay. I'm going to say something that probably doesn't make sense, and like
we're used to it, that's fine.
I'm just shooting in the dark now.
That's right.
But,
Go on. Give it a try.
So, physics. So there's laws of physics that are applied to our universe.
Yes.
And things like that.
We're talking about before that. Remember?
Yeah.
Before
so
the universe
exactly,
existed.
Exactly. So this is the point I was going to try and make.
Yeah.
I have no knowledge of this really, but if the laws of physics apply in this universe and say that nothing can be created from, something can't be created from nothing. So that applies to our universe. So before our universe was created, maybe there were different laws.
You mean there was another universe?
Maybe a different universe.
Because you see, laws of physics don't just exist in thin air, in nothing.
But they apply to different universes. Again,
Even
see,
another,
I don't know
we'll have the
very-
same issue if you bring another universe as well.
Yeah.
You see, the
And
same
then
issue will,
forever.
yeah,
for eternity.
because you cannot have infinite regression. That is also unscientific. Okay. So, for example, I'll give you a concept of a library. Imagine you have a library, and you're waiting in a queue, and this queue is so long, it's infinite. Will you ever get a book?
No.
Infinite means never ending.
Never ending.
Okay, so you see, this is the same concept that applies to this multiverses, which you'll have the problem or the issue of this infinite regression, that our universe wouldn't exist if there were multiple infinite universes before it. Just like you wouldn't get the book in the library, this universe wouldn't exist.
Okay.
Because you see, there's something called cause and effect. For every effect, there is a cause. So we'll constantly question, what is the cause of this universe? What is the cause of the universe before that? What is the cause of the universe before that?
But it's like,
So even the multiverse theory doesn't really resolve the issue. It actually complicates it even more. And with the principle of infinite regression, we know that it will not exist.
but
This universe will not exist.
Is it not like take this microphone
Yeah.
and then look inside it, and then look inside that, and look inside that, until you get to electrons?
Yeah, that's fine. So you started somewhere
So
and you ended somewhere.
and you're looking further and deeper and deeper
That's
and
fine.
deeper.
That's fine.
into
No
it.
problem at all. But the point is, this microphone. If I asked you, this microphone create itself?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
So
Did
somebody
it fall out of the sky, out of nothing?
Actually, I want to
Out of thin air?
I want to talk about. I think you mentioned earlier. You said that if that I think you gave an example. If my phone was made, surely, and we're looking at small things and like blowing it up to big things. So does that mean that the universe was made? And I think that the universe made itself.
It made itself.
To an extent.
How?
Okay.
Explain how.
From my knowledge, I read like a book by.
Is the universe conscious? Does it know that the distance of the Earth should be X miles from the sun in order for us all not to freeze to death?
No, I think that's chance.
Or burn to death.
I think that's chance.
So you think this planet is so unique by chance that we are perfect distance from the sun?
Yes.
Because you see a fraction far, a fraction near
Yeah,
would actually either burn to death
I agree,
or freeze to death.
That's what
In fact, forget
that's what
about burning to death, freezing to death. We wouldn't even exist
No,
to
we
start
wouldn't
with
exist.
because the conditions wouldn't be correct.
My opinion.
And then the
on this
gravity.
is-
Take the gravity for example.
Yeah.
The gravity,
It's perfect.
if it was if it was
perfect.
too strong
and-
or too light, we would either be floating or can't even take a step.
I know, but I think. Well, yeah, kind
So
of.
you see all this, I think there are too many chances because
No,
if
no,
all
I-
this
I
happened by
disagree, I
accident,
disagree.
then you will really be putting too much faith into all these coincidences.
Okay, put it this way.
Yeah, go on.
I've got like I'm super strong and I've got a massive load of bricks in my hands. If I threw this pile of bricks up in the air like 1,000 times or many times, eventually it would land in the shape of a house.
You think so?
Or okay, fine. Say
That's the worst example I've heard. But anyway, I know what you're trying to say. I know it. Given the chance and the time,
Yeah.
yes, we can see things happening. So, for example, there might be millions of years pass, and maybe one day the animals in the zoo will write Shakespeare, for example.
Maybe.
Yes?
Yeah.
If you want to believe in such magic theories, then that's fine.
I don't
I would
think-
rather believe in God.
I don't think it's magic.
Well, it is. Because if you're saying
I think it's-
everything that happens is by chance,
I think it is
then I think it
chance,
is the consciousness that you and I have. Yes? Do you think it came from the chemicals in your brain?
Yes.
You really think so?
Yes.
Explain that.
Okay. I'm no.
You know when you die-
I'm no neurobiologist.
When you die, your brain is still alive for, I don't know, how many minutes or something?
I think so. I'm not sure about that.
But does it have the ability to give any commands to your body?
No, but I think that's.
You see, you still have the brain, you still have the neurons in there, and they're
surely
still
that's just your
active.
brain shutting down.
But you see, no,
Again, I
it
don't
does
see
eventually
what it
shut down. You're right. But there is a time between your death and it shuts down. So within that fraction of that time, or whatever it is, yes, some people say it's 20 minutes. I don't know exactly how much, but there have been research done by scientists, and they say the brain remains active for minutes, up to 20 minutes for some people. But anyway, you see, what I'm trying to say here is that your brain is still there when you're dead.
Yeah.
Yes? But you see, it's incapable of any action at all. What happens to your consciousness because your brain is still there?
Well, it's like a coma, for example. I think what you're describing is sort of like a coma.
Yeah.
So in a coma, your brain is still active, but the rest of
But
your
is it
body-
conscious?
Is it conscious?
Yes. Does it know what's happening around
I think so.
in a coma, really?
I think so.
I think you should bring a patient in coma and ask him sometimes
Well,
whether you knew what was happening while you were sleeping.
No. There are examples of people who have been in comas.
Yeah, we're
and
talking
then
about
they've
exceptions,
been
my
able
friend.
to-
Exceptions don't make a rule.
Okay, fine, but there
We,
have
are,
been.
we know people who came back from dead sometimes, you know?
Well.
When I say from dead, some of them got buried literally in a grave and they came back alive. Maybe they were wrongly diagnosed as dead. But what I'm saying is that things like this happen, and there are exceptions. I'm not saying no. But you see, we are coming back to the consciousness of the universe. Do you think the universe has consciousness? Do you think the atoms have consciousness?
No.
Because many people try to understand somehow that energy has consciousness. But I really want to ask them how. How does an atom, for example, how does a brick, which is made of atoms, know that it's being hammered? Do you think it will move away from the place because it knows it's going to get damaged?
I don't think
No,
so.
it won't. Because it doesn't have the consciousness like
What's
a
your point-
sentient
what's your
being.
point here? It's
The point here is that this origin of the universe is not by chance. It's not an accident. Because we see a purpose of everything in the world, everything in the universe. And all this is not by chance. The complexity, yes, the organized fashion in which we are basically created, all this doesn't just come by chance.
Okay, let me tell you my theory.
Yeah, go on.
So my alternative to that is that we exist in a massive universe,
Yeah.
and then there's so many planets, so many stars, and all that sort of thing. It's massive, and so then every once in a while there's going to be an anomaly where we just happen to be sitting in the Goldilocks zone, where you're just the right distance from the sun. And NASA has spotted other planets that are in that zone. They obviously can't tell whether there's life there or not because they're so far away. But yeah, I think that we just happen to have the right mass, the right asteroids. An asteroid with water hit us like so long ago, and all that. And
What
so-
does that prove?
What does that prove?
That still doesn't prove we came from nothing, does it? It still doesn't prove that we self-existed. It doesn't still prove that.
I think it proves that the universe. I think because you're saying that the universe has consciousness.
No, wait. So you're saying this coincidence. How do you have this leap of faith from all these accidents with the perfect planet
Yeah.
and the perfect conditions,
Yeah.
this coincidence? How do you link that to the consciousness of the universe?
Well,
And why is it the universe that is conscious? Because there was a point.
I'm saying the universe.
No,
isn't
I'm saying there was a point in time when this planet did not exist.
So,
right?
Well, yeah, this planet was like a small asteroid.
Well, we don't know what it is. That's speculation. I think.
Speculation,
Yes,
fine, but-
it can be basically a remnant of another planet or another star. I don't know what it is. What I'm saying is, what we are discussing here is basically how did all this originate? You see, like I said, it cannot be nothing. So we need to focus on this something. Now this something the something has to be conscious, yes, intelligent. It has to be eternal, because otherwise we'll have the same issue about where did it come from. Yes, it has to be the uncaused cause. If you don't know, I'll explain that what it means.
fine.
Yes, because you see everything has a cause and effect.
Yeah.
Yes, so this planet, this universe has a cause, and the universe is basically the effect, and the planet is the effect. Yes, and we can go on until we reach a point where we come to this two divisions here. Is it from nothing or is it from something? We rule out nothing, so now we are back to something. Yes, and this something, unless and until it has these qualities, then if it has these qualities, it is able to give rise to the universe as we know it.
Okay. Wait, can you go back to the bit where you were saying with the
The universe,
universe is
yeah, the universe did not create itself. It has to be created by something. And this something is the uncaused cause, is self-existent. It has consciousness and intelligence. Yes, it has the ability to create, and the power and the ability to create.
okay. So this is how I heard it. So I read this book by some astronomer.
Okay.
And so the way they put, I'm trying to remember this, but so it's, I think there was, so you have a singularity, and then it became unbalanced, and then it exploded. I think it exploded. Or something happened, and the universe started expanding, and that's where apparently it's. So what I got from that book was it was just a mistake, a kind of mistake, a kind of coincidence, and it makes sense that. So with that assumption, and like, of course it's a very grey area with lots of people.
No, but you went straight from the singularity to expansion.
Yes.
The question still arises: where did the singularity come from? The balance on balance is still coming later on. The question first arises: is where did the singularity come from? You see, we are back to square one.
Yes.
It has to have an origin. It has to have a creator. It has to have a cause.
Okay.
Now this question, like I said, this cause, until it has these points which I mentioned earlier, yes, and if it has these points, then it's able to create this singularity and the expansion and the correct gravity and the correct physical laws and everything in it. There's no problem at all. But if you say all this just came by accident and we are all the product of an accident or coincidence, then I think that is a bigger leap of faith than to actually believe there is actually an entity out there which is able to make all these things.
Well, tell you what, I think it's very difficult to argue the starting of the universe, but I'd like to talk about how humans were created, because I thought.
Yeah, but that all comes later on.
Huh?
That all comes later on. The evolution and all that comes later on.
Yes.
Before that we are talking about even the evolution. Before you talk about evolution, you'll have to talk about abiogenesis, which is where did the first cell come from? The origin of the cell. You know, the cell is quite complex.
I know,
yes?
I know.
Do you remember the components of the cell?
I study biology.
Okay, so I'm sure you're aware of how complex it is. So it's got the, what do you say, the nucleus, which has the mitochondria, which is the power factory, which gives energy to the cell. Yes?
Yep.
Do you really think all that just fixed itself one day by coincidence as well?
One day, yes. I do.
You really think so? As a biologist, you actually think it just, all these components came together, perfectly formed this single cell.
Not perfectly. It's like what I said about the bricks. Like you throw them up and they'll land in a stack eventually.
No, but the components, where did they come from?
Where did they come from?
Yes.
Let's tell you what. We've got the start of the universe, right?
Yeah.
And we got where we got stars.
We fast forwarded very quickly because I think we were stuck there. So let's move on to abiogenesis. That's fine.
We were stuck.
Yeah, go on.
So what we've got is we've got a bunch of stars, and these stars underwent nuclear fusion. So nuclear fusion where the new elements are made. So you've got like
new elements made. What? Just by accident?
By fusion. By fusion.
So you think fusion happens in the sun? Are there new elements being made by the sun?
I can't remember about the sun, but the biggest stars.
Yeah, I think you should stick to biology, not physics.
I do physics as well.
Oh, you do? Then you should know that nuclear fusion doesn't just create new elements.
Is it fission or fusion? I can't remember. It's either fission or fusion. But I know that stars create new elements. And they're made up of new elements.
What new elements? Like what?
I'm talking new elements relative to the beginning of the universe.
No, are we going back to the beginning of the universe? We were down to the single cell.
I'm talking relative to the beginning of the universe.
Okay, let's go back to the topic we were talking, which was the single cell.
Okay. Fine.
How did the single cell form?
So wait, I'll get onto that.
Okay, go on.
These stars have these. So basically, what I'm saying is that all these elements, eventually in the form of meteorites and things like this. I'm not too sure about that, but yes, they came and they hit Earth, and meteorites with water on them. I know that this happened. Meteorites with water on them.
How much water?
Lots of water.
Lots of water.
Lots of water.
I wish we had meteorites in the skies like that today. Yeah. Can you imagine all the planets having lots of water?
Imagine that.
Yes. Why are there no water on other planets?
Well, there's water on Mars.
Do you think they all hit only Earth?
No.
Then?
Well, I think.
Is there water on Mars? Are you sure about that?
I think yes.
No, it's a theory. I don't think they've actually.
They've spotted like veins on Mars, which suggests that there was water there. And I think somebody was telling me the other day that there was water on Mars.
Okay,
anyway.
Let's talk about things which you know for certain. But you see, so what are you trying to say? Are you trying to say the single cell formed by all these elements from the universe, from the skies?
Okay.
Because you know, for a cell to function, they have to be all in the right place, in the right quantity.
Yeah.
Yes? Yeah. You think that is an accident as well?
I think given enough time. So what is it?
You know, this theory of yours, given enough time, it'll happen. Has it ever been proven?
Has what ever been proven?
That given enough time, things will happen and they will form perfectly.
I think that the more time you give something, the more likely it is to happen.
Yeah, but that's a probability, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not for certain. It will fix as a cell, and it will have life to reproduce to give another cell life. You see what I mean? Even this reproduction of the cell from cell 1, the regeneration of it from cell A to cell B, if all this is a coincidence, then I think you are more like a person who believes in a religion and believes it blindly that all this is possible. Why would you not be willing to accept that God is able to do all this then? Because what you're doing here is you're taking so many leaps of faith that all this is by accident. You're no different to a theist who believes in God, even though some of the theists actually have evidence for the existence of God and how things come into being. Yes? Because for you, what you're doing right now is not scientific. What you're doing is something from a philosophical argument that there is a possibility that given enough time, anything is possible. This is a philosophical argument. It's not something scientists will tell you that this is going to happen for certain. Okay, because even the observable things, yes, the scientists get it wrong. Like at one point when they actually thought that the earth was flat, these people were considered to be highly literate. Yes, but later on they found out the earth is not flat.
I think so.
You see what I mean? So the scientists, when they postulate theories and when they say certain things, they do not write it in stone. They say that there is possibility for this to change.
Yeah, it's a theory.
Yes, it's a theory, but but there are certain things which is the observable universe, established science, which we know, which we cannot doubt. Yes, like the shape of the earth. Today we know for a fact. Yes, but you'll be surprised how many flat earthers out there, and they would give you scientific reasons to prove that the earth is flat. But anyway, let's not go there. Let's not digress. What we are doing here right now is trying to find out the origin of something as massive as the universe and something as simple as a single cell. Yes?
Yeah.
These things coming by magic, by coincidence, by accident, is not scientific from what I know. Okay? Because if that was the case, then the scientists wouldn't spend years in their researching of how it originated. If it was as simple as, it just assembled itself like a Lego blocks. By the way, even Lego blocks don't assemble themselves. Somebody has to assemble them. Yes? And these are built components, just have to fix them together in a certain order. But you see the cell, like I said, it's got the cytoplasm, it's got the mitochondria, it's got the nucleus, it's got all these things, and it's able to basically reproduce. Yes?
Yes.
And this is what I'm saying. All these are coincidence. You're no different to someone who believes in blind faith.
But okay, do you agree with my? Do you agree with the way? Okay, actually, I was going to ask. Do you agree with the way I described the way the planet Earth was created with all the elements?
The elements, some of the elements of the Earth, it did come from the skies. Yes, yes. And you'll be surprised. You know, in the Quran, there's actually Surah Al-Hadid, how it's called the iron. How iron basically came from the skies. There's actually an ayah in the Quran which tells you that it came from the skies before the scientists figured this out. These elements, some of the elements on this planet, they came from the heavens. We don't know exactly where. It might be meteorites, might be basically some other supernovas giving rise to all this. We don't know exactly, but Allah says in the Quran that this is how it came, and we believe so, not because science told us, but because God is able to know how He created things and is able to tell us how they came into existence. But you see, scientists, they can observe these things. They can either postulate theories or they can speculate certain things, and they can actually observe certain observable established science. We have different forms of science. But one thing is certain, science is not something that is set in stone. It is prone to change its theories. It's prone to change its stance. And the same is not something you can tell about the actual creator, God. Because God says something that is the iron came from the skies, and in some other verse, they will say, no, it actually came from the ground. Yes? You see, Allah doesn't contradict Himself. So this is something that you need to understand. You see, we cannot just create ourselves. The universe cannot create itself. It was created by an entity, and that entity we believe is God. You can call him supernatural power. If you don't like the word God, you can call him something that you are unable to explain. But you see, all these coincidences are not coincidences. There is a purpose behind it. Just like an architecture puts a building together, yes, and he has planned everything meticulously, how the structure of the building should be, before it is even completed. That is exactly how we believe that God is the architecture of this entire creation, and he meticulously designed and gave a purpose to everything. Nothing in the universe is without a purpose. So the question now arises, you see, we are going to live in this earth, maybe, I don't know, 70, 80, 90 years, if you're lucky. Yes? One day we will perish. So whether you're an atheist or a theist, whether you believe or disbelieve in God, this is something that no one can deny. That death will come to every living soul.
Okay.
Yes?
Yeah.
We cannot deny this. This is a fact.
Right.
Right? So, I don't know, have you ever given it a thought as to what will happen to you, your consciousness, yes, after you die?
What happened to my consciousness?
Yeah.
I was pretty satisfied with it. It'll just end.
Just the end? That's it?
That's just the end, yeah.
What is the purpose of you being on this earth?
What is the purpose? I think, down to my opinion, like, I mean, of course, believing in evolution, I believe that our overall purpose is to reproduce and pass on our genes.
Then there's no different to animals.
Why
do we work so hard, to keep ourselves? Why can't we just live in the trees like the animals?
Because I think that humans have developed, obviously, I think animals can live in comfort as well.
Yeah,
So,
they do,
with
but
an
not the
animal-
comfort that, for example, if it's hot, you can have an air condition. If it's cold, you can have a heating.
Okay,
Do you
but
really
fine,
think
fine.
they have that option?
But you were saying earlier about looking at a small thing and blowing it up to a big thing. So
No, I said
you're
there's,
talking about
there's symmetries.
symmetries, yes. So the same way a dog would prefer to lie on a cushion than lie on the floor, the same way a human would like to have air conditioning than stay in the cold.
No, you see, air conditioning and cushion are not made by the dogs. This is a human.
Okay,
this is
fine,
a human.
fine.
This is a human kindness which the dogs are making use of, and which other human beings are making use of. But ultimately, the credit doesn't go to the dogs, does it? It goes to the human beings. But if the dog was in the wild, it wouldn't have these luxuries, would it?
I think that they're okay.
The dogs and the monkeys, even, yes, or even the chimpanzees, or even some of the African grey parrots, which are called the Einstein of the birds, or the dolphins, which are really intelligent. These animals did not create a civilization like the way the humans did. So we definitely are on a par which is different to the animals.
But again, I think this is through evolution.
I don't think it's evolution.
I think it is. The reason I think
But
it is,
why did only we evolve to this state? Why not any other? From the millions of species out
because
there.
time. I think it's
No, but those.
time and resources.
Hold on. Some of those animals have been on this earth before us.
Yes.
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 They had more time. For example, the jellyfish or the spiders.
The jellyfish, but they've made an existence which is perfectly fine for them. They don't need.
Yeah.
They're very well adapted for their purpose. And
They don't even have a brain like us.
I know,
But they have existed for millennia, and they did not evolve into anything bigger or smaller.
I
Have they?
don't think they need it because
They don't need it?
I don't think so.
Why?
Because of course, what I stated earlier was that to be successful as a species is to pass on your genes.
I don't think that is the only purpose for us human beings.
I don't
Are you saying those people who do not get married and do not pass on their genes are not human enough? Because you see, they use their choice not to get married or not to have children, for example. Would you call them any less human than you and me?
No.
Exactly. So if our purpose was only to pass on genes and to procreate, then I think that is a very lowly standards we have set for
Okay,
ourselves.
fine. But okay, call it an instinct then, rather than a overall purpose.
What do you mean instinct?
An instinct, like an instinct as in it's just a kind of process, a chemical process you have.
No, I know what instinct is.
Yeah.
But what about instinct?
What do you mean?
Why did you mention instinct? When I asked you what is your purpose in life,
I'm talking about passing on genes and procreating.
no, obviously there's a reason to pass on the genes.
Yes.
So your progeny,
So it's
your lineage will not come to an end. Otherwise, you see, if you're not going to have children, then and someone in your family does, then your lineage comes to an end, and theirs doesn't. Theirs carries on. But it's not your lineage; it's their lineage now. You see what I mean? So, I think we have to progress beyond that, because this is something that you haven't chosen. You haven't chosen to have a reproduction system. It wasn't your intellect or your instinct or whatever it is. This is something that God has already given you the ability to procreate. You see, this is something which both animals and humans share together. They need food, we need food. They need to procreate, we need to procreate. They need to exist, we need to exist.
I think those systems, they're there.
But you see, this is not the purpose of life, my friend. We ought to have a higher purpose, because our standards are not as low as how the animals have set their standards too. Because even their standards, they haven't set it. It is because of the way they are, they haven't got the ability and the intellect that we have to have a civilization like the way we have.
Yeah.
Yes, we definitely are set apart from them. We are not the same as animals. Otherwise, you know, people, I've seen many people give examples of, oh, why can't we be like, why can't we be X, Y, and Z? Because the animals do it. We don't do that. The animals have their own life. Yes? You heard of the praying mantis?
Yeah, I know praying.
What does it do? You're a biologist, you should know that.
So yeah,
What does it do?
kills its prey.
Exactly.
Eats it.
It kills its mate.
Yeah, it kills its mate.
Yes? So the very husband, or whatever it is, his partner, yes, after having sex with that praying mantis, it chops his head off.
Yes.
Was that part of the procreation? That's the end.
That's eating.
Exactly.
That's
You see,
it, yeah.
so we cannot use the animal kingdom to justify what the human beings do. The human beings have their own standards. We do not need the animal kingdom to tell us. But certain things we probably can learn from them.
Okay, fine. I'm just gonna. So, look at. Okay, as somebody who believes in evolution, I believe our closest ancestors are like down the roots of monkeys and mammals and that. So I ask like, and like I have evidence to support that. For example, you know about amino acids and that.
Yeah.
So the same 20 amino acids appear in all mammals, all animals.
Where did it come from? The amino acids.
Where did those amino acids come from? Again, I want to say chance.
You see, everything is chance for you, my friend. That's not how it works. That's not even scientific, my friend. If everything is just by chance, then why do we bother having experiments and having the scientists go to these universities and study so much?
Okay, everything isn't chance. Again, like I'm not the best person to speak about it, so I'm just saying what I think.
No, fair enough. But you see, you cannot use chance for everything.
Yeah, okay.
That is like just saying that, oh, I don't know, so I'm using it. I'm just saying it's chance. You're speculating here.
I see what.
Yeah, this is not speculation. We need to rely on. We need to have some proper answers.
But I think what I'm doing is actually don't worry.
Amino acids
Yes.
is complex as well. Yes, they do not just exist by themselves.
No, they don't.
Yes,
But tell you what,
the scientists have come to the conclusion, some of them, that they also came from the skies.
they came from the skies.
When I say skies, might be like you said, meteor and all
So
that.
we're aliens.
No, we could be. Why not? The elements, if they come from the skies and we are made by those, it doesn't mean we are aliens. Aliens means a species.
Okay,
Yes.
extraterrestrial.
Yeah, we have elements which have not originated on Earth. That's all it means. Okay? But anyway, the point still remains with regards to when you die one day. Yes? What you really think you'll just shut your eyes and that's the end of it? What if there was an alternative?
Yeah, what's the alternative?
The alternative is that whatever you did in this earth, you will have to be accountable for that. And there's actually a higher being who will judge what you did and how you did it, to whom you did, and when you did it, and you will be held accountable for it.
But my question is, where does your consciousness go? Where does your consciousness go, and how does it get there?
It's with the soul.
With
So
the
we
soul
believe
go-
your consciousness
But where does
and
the
your soul are intrinsically linked.
But where does your soul go?
Like I said, it goes to the realm, to a metaphysical realm. So you won't have a scientific answer for that, unfortunately. It is something metaphysical which is beyond the realm of science.
But you see, again, like for me to agree and like believe in something, again, it's down to my understanding. It's
But you
down
see,
to-
you did not understand many things and you said they came by chance. You believed all those things.
I think I do understand those though. I think there's some things I'm unsure about, but I've heard about in the past, and I think that's where I'm kind of getting this from.
Okay. But I'll tell you what. Let's say you have two options. Yeah. Let's say you as an atheist, you believe that you will die one day, and that's it. That's the end of you. The end. Yeah. Nothing happens to you. Dust to dust, ashes to ashes, whatever. Yes. Then there is the other option that you will die and you will be held accountable on the day of. There is a day of judgment, and there is a judge who is going to judge you. Okay. These two options are given. You heard of the Pascal's wager?
Sorry?
The Pascal's wager?
Sorry?
Pascal. You know Blaise Pascal? The scientist? Pascal.
As in Pascal's triangle?
Well, Pascal's law, for example. I don't know. He was a scientist. Okay, anyway. So he basically postulated a wager which goes something like that. That imagine one day you will realize that there is a God. Yes? As an atheist. So as an atheist, you do not believe in God. Yes? So let's say you don't believe in God. And one day, okay, I'll tell you what, just to make it simpler. Let's say from the point of view of an atheist. An atheist believes there is no God and there is no life after death. Okay? We come to an end and that's the end of it. Let's say that was the version which was true. Yes? For me and for you when we die. For the sake of argument, we assume this is the true version. Am I, as a theist who believes in God and who believes in life after death and the day of judgment and believe and abides by what God has told me to do and abstain from what He has forbidden me to do? As a person, as a theist, will I lose anything if your worldview was the true?
Okay.
So I die one day, just like you will die one day, and we have no day of judgment. That's the end of it. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. I, as a theist, will I lose anything?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It depends if you've enjoyed your life, I suppose.
Well,
I think
I seem to be pleased with my life. So alhamdulillah, so far, yeah.
That's fine. You've not lost anything.
Yes.
So, but
No.
in my opinion, I'm just living my life. Like,
Yeah, as you wish, based on your desire. Yes, within the confines of the law, of course. Okay, now let's flip that situation.
Okay.
Yes, imagine my worldview was a true.
Okay.
Yes.
So in that case, you'd be gaining something and I'd be losing something.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You see, you're taking the bigger. You're basically waging. You're gambling more than I am.
Okay.
In a way, and you're gambling with something which is eternity. You see, this life is fixed. Whatever it is, you're going to live X number of years, and that's fixed. That's it. Okay? But you see, once you die, in what God has told us in the Quran, the life is going to be eternal. So your life, you'll be given a new life, a new lease to life, as they say. And this will be eternal. This will be never ending. Do you see the gamble that you're taking? Because if imagine if what you're saying is false. What you believe in is false. And when you die, you realize this is false. It'll be too late by then. You have an opportunity until you breathe your last to take that step to believe and submit to one God. And then you will have the promise that God has said you, that if you do good things, by the way, the good things that you do in this world which God has told you to do is for the benefit of the mankind. The things that God has forbidden you to do is basically for nothing that will benefit you as a human being, as an individual, or as a society. You must have heard about Muslims. They're forbidden to drink alcohol, and that includes all intoxicants like drugs and everything. They're forbidden from gambling. They're forbidden from basically extramarital affairs, fornication, and all that things. You see, all those things, forbidding these things are not bad. These things are good for you as an individual and as a society. You want a society which is morally upright and not where people go and sleep with everyone, yes, and just basically do what they want, inject them with whatever drugs, consume whatever alcohol they want. These standards have been set by someone who created you because he knows what is good for you and me. You see the gamble you're taking, because once you die, then you desires that you give away in your life, yes, because these are desires. This alcohol is not benefiting you, is it? It might give you some pleasure momentarily, but then the harm is much greater than these few good things that you think are helping you in your recreation, as a recreation activity.
I think it can be useful I think we need to wrap up. I've got a bunch of maths homework to do. But,
Okay.
But yeah.
Saved by the homework. That's the first time I've heard this. That's fine, no problem.
Anyway,
What's your name, my friend?
William.
William. Very nice speaking to you.
Your name,
But Hashim, yeah. If I give you a copy of the Quran, would you read it?
Would I read it? As far as I'm aware, it's very
You seem
long.
like an intelligent person who is open-minded.
I'm open-minded. I'm open to opinions.
Yes,
and
yes.
I'm happy to hear everyone's view.
So if I give you a Quran,
Would I read it? Well, firstly, I thought
I don't want to
it's
force
in-
it
I
on
thought
you.
it's
See what I mean?
Is it Arabic? Arabic?
No, it's in English.
It's in English. All right. Okay. Well, I'll probably read an abridged version.
That's fine. I mean, you don't have to read everything in one day.
Yeah.
Take your time. Yes?
I'm definitely interested to find out what the views of the Quran.
So yeah, inshallah. You got a copy? Okay. His brother here will give you a
Am I
copy.
going to get a copy of the Quran?
Yeah, it's a free copy. You don't have to pay for it. But like I said, take your own time. You got any questions? Are you based in London? Are you local? Yeah. We are here on Sundays. So if you got any questions, come here or go to your nearest mosque or Muslim that you know has some knowledge about it.
Yeah. I've got
About his Islam.
Yeah, I know some.
Yeah, then you can ask questions. You know, like I said, I read books of other religion. I read books on atheism. I read books on theism. It doesn't mean that this will hamper me in any way. This is just to extend my knowledge and my understanding of the world that we live in. And we have to be open-minded in order to absorb this difference. And today, in the age of information, as I say, ignorance is really a choice.
Ignorance is bliss.
Well, I don't think it's a bliss for many people. Unfortunately, it's not. Because if you didn't know the laws of driving a car or the traffic, and you think ignorance is bliss,
ignorance is gonna get
then
you
it's not really going to be a bliss for you if you don't know the traffic laws. So certain things you have to study, you have to learn in your life in order to basically make it more meaningful, give it more meaning and purpose in life. Because our purpose, like I said, is not just procreating. We have a higher purpose. And this higher purpose is serving the Lord Almighty who created us. And what I mean by that is not like you go and sit in a mosque and read the Quran and basically just pray to Him. No. It's to be kind to your neighbors. Yes. To do best at your work, at your workplace. Yes. So yeah, this is a copy of the Quran, and inshallah it'll benefit you. Like I said, it's not very big. And you don't have to finish it in one day. Yeah, so at your own space and at your own time, you read it. Like I said, ponder on what you read there. And if you have any questions, any doubts, do ask us.
So, tell you what, also a book for you. I don't have it with me, of course. I don't have a copy of it.
No, that's fine. You're not obliged to give me anything.
If you want to check out Neil deGrasse Tyson, he gives a much better explanation at the beginning of the universe than me.
What did he say?
He goes more in depth about imbalance and singularity. The singularity.
No, but did he tell you where the singularity came from?
No.
There you go.
Well,
That's what I'm saying. That is why the science is stuck. Because you see, for science to progress in its theory, in order to understand and postulate theories even, it needs something called space and time. If you do not know whether space and time even existed before that singularity, then it is handicapping science. You see what I mean? In a way, science is handicapped.
I see.
Yes. So anyway, I mean, like I said, we talked for a long time, and I appreciate the time. And yes, I appreciate the time. And thanks a lot, William. You take care. All the best to you.